an interview happened between Rexanarex and the Diablo 4 devs. He specifically asked a question around this concept, which was, do you guys ever plan to introduce content into the game that skill can overwhelm regardless of you having gear that's not prepared for it? And basically their answer to that philosophy question was, no, we're always going to pick gear over skill. For instance, you're going to need to be able to over gear a fight and your skill won't matter. Like, that needs to be in the game. Where do you guys stand on this same philosophy question? Do you believe that you should have content that's Pinnacle content in the game that can always be completely over geared, or do you prefer, on the side of things where like skill can overwhelm? I understand you're explaining that's currently how it is now. You can push up a little bit, but where exactly on that teeter totter do you guys fall in terms of gear to scale?
Are you on this one?
Yeah, no, you can start. I'll finish
Okay.
if you do something, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I think so. Both of them are really important to have in the game. I think that's the key thing in there is that we need to have. Our goal is to have boss fights where if you are crazy good at the fight, you should be able to get make up for a lot of gear shortcomings in that fight. Now there's sort of like I think a gear minimum required for most fights. And then like a point where once your gear is sort of over a certain threshold of awesomeness, where you're able to sort of start to ignore individual mechanics and your skill matters less. So I guess like you need to have some combination of skill and gear, and those need to total up to enough to beat the fight, sort of thing. And the more gear you have, the less skill you need, and that sort of thing, I think is how we've come at that problem. We do really like the idea, specifically with Ebroth when we were designing. This was one thing that we said over and over and over again is that if you go God mode, in you're the best gamer in the world and you can dodge everything perfectly and you do an absolute flawless run, you can go into it with a crap character and still do it. And that possibility I think is really important. And then for players who are like, I don't have the time to or I don't have the drive to learn this fight inside and out, every nitty gritty little thing, but I do have the ability to farm up a little bit more gear, then I can still have fun and I can still overcome that challenge. And so it's I guess just like applying those two forces against each other, which is more important.